Cool. We are live. Got there. A lot better. I'm going to criticize Jimmy O.Yang kind of live stream. Constructive feedback. If Jimmy ever gets to watch this, bug on my lack of Instagram fans, which is mainly on Instagram. It's not great. So I give it a plug on Instagram. There we go. And then here we go. Right. So we've got YouTube, TikTok, and WeChat. Tried Xiaohongshu, but they cut me for speaking too much English. So I'll tell you my story about seeing the great comedian Jimmy O.Yang. I'm not saying that with sarcasm. He is a great comedian. Now, let's go back in time. I've been watching Jimmy's stuff on YouTube. I've seen on all different platforms. I've seen who is Jimmy O. See, I keep getting this question: who's Jimmy O.Yang? If you don't know who Jimmy O.Yang is, I'm really surprised. He's a great comedian. Go and check out his videos, his stuff. He is also a great actor. He's been in lots of things like Silicon Valley. He was in Crazy Rich Asians. What's that movie he's in where he catfishes this lady, and that's a really funny movie. I should know, really. Love Hard. That is a great movie. Really great movie from Jimmy. And the way he constructs jokes are really funny. So when did I see him? I saw him in Macau about 6 months ago. In a little bit of I say smaller venue. And it was really difficult to get tickets at the time. When was he? July. So I saw him in July last year. Was it July? Yeah, and he was brilliant. Really great comedian. The price of the tickets, I thought, is like any artist, singer, comedian, band nowadays, they are extortionate. I don't think the tickets for the layman, the odd fan, is way too expensive now. That's something they definitely need, and it's mainly because of the ticket touts. But I watch Jimmy's stuff on social media as well. He's a really funny guy and very cultural as well. He doesn't just do stand-up stuff. He does stuff about Chinese culture and growing up in Hong Kong and his family and his father. And yeah, he's a really talented guy, really great comedian. When I saw him in Macau last July, he was fantastic. It was just him, a mic. He did a little bit of singing, which was funny. And I'll tell you later why he was great the first time, because he spoke in English, right? Now, I'm not saying this because I think if you're a Chinese comedian, you should just speak English. But when he did the show back in July, it was mainly in English, and he threw in tiny bits of Mandarin and Cantonese, which was funny, right? If you to have the whole audience, to accommodate the whole audience. So last July, he was really good, really good comedian. He didn't pull any punches, and he did jokes that were relevant on the day. So considering he was in Macau, he did jokes about gambling and casinos back in July when I saw him last year. Really great show. I came out thinking like, wow, I think the price of the ticket, I think it might have been at 800 or 1,000 RMB from what I remember, which is still pricey, I think, for a comedian. I think 300-400 RMB, let's say 30-40 pounds, is quite reasonable. I don't know what it's like in the UK. If you want to see a big comedian nowadays, if you want to see Jimmy Carr or Peter Kay, or in America, Dave Chappelle or something. I'm sure the tickets are hundreds of dollars, but so I'm not complaining too much about that. So back in July, I saw Jimmy at it was a smaller venue near the Galaxy, Macau, and he was really good. And he had a bit of media stuff behind him. I remember that. He showed some stuff behind, but it was really fun. And the crowd was laughing and all that kind of stuff. And it was a smaller venue from what I remember. I think maybe just a couple of thousand, that venue. Yeah, he's a funny guy. Really great jokes. Now, when you've had an experience like that, you want to see them again, right? You feel like, wow, I had such a great time seeing Jimmy. I will say this as well. It was very difficult to get tickets last July. I remember there was shows in Hong Kong and shows in Macau. And I'm not complaining. When someone's popular, or, you know, whether they're a band or a singer or a comedian, right, tickets sell out. That's the point of fandom. But it was, let's just say, it was very difficult to get tickets. And did manage to get tickets. It wasn't as bad as Oasis, right? It wasn't that bad. I never got tickets for Oasis. That was the bad one. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the gifts, as I have my little critique. Now, I will preface again that I'm not a critic. I hate it when people think they know stuff about stuff when they don't know how much work has gone into putting on a show and things like that. After the show in July last year, he said he was doing this Chinese New Year show, which I when I first heard about it, I thought, wow, that sounds like a really great idea. I'd love to watch that. So I managed to get tickets again to see him on Saturday. And it was a Chinese New Year show. So bigger, you think, when you hear Chinese New Year, you think bigger, better, bigger arena, 10,000 people. And you got to bring your A game, right? You got to kind of up it a level. So bear in mind, right now it's Chinese New Year, right? It's the final day of Chinese New Year. We're back to normal tomorrow. But to get tickets anywhere in China, flying right now is a nightmare. Like you always have to double or triple the price. So let's say it's because I'm flying from Shanghai to Macau. Usually it's around 1,500 RMB to fly down to Macau from here. Let's say 150 pounds, roughly. Again, my conversion's not great there. This was over 3,000 RMB. So that's 3,000 RMB gone, right? 300 quid gone just to fly down to Macau. Hotel as well. Now the hotel, the cheapest I could find in that kind of area, like you can't stay in the Galaxy. Most people can't stay in the Galaxy because it will be 3, 4, 5,000 RMB a night minimum, right? Let's say 300, 400, 500 quid a night, right? Like I know, I'm not complaining. It's like it's very common anywhere in the world. Any sporting event or band, when they're playing in that area, or the hotels hike all the price up. Fair enough, yeah, I understand all that. And it's Macau, right? It's, you know, casinos and things. Their pricing is not exactly cheap, right? So yeah, I did see Jackson Wang, and I'll come on to this. This is an important part of my whole live stream. I'm going to talk, and again, I'm just one guy giving a live stream about my experience about seeing Jimmy O.Yang, and it's not a rant. It is not a criticism of Jimmy O.Yang, because I think he's a great comedian. I need to preface this. He's a great comedian. I'm a nobody, right? I'm just some British guy in Shanghai that's doing a bit of business, that is just a fan that's talking about this stuff. But I think my views are relevant in this experience, because, and I'll tell you why later, why this is all really important. And if you've missed anything that I've said, you can always go back afterwards and rewatch this live stream, which will tell you everything that happened. And I like to go down to Macau because Macau is a cool place to just walk around. It's a good place to walk. I'm not a gambler. I don't gamble at all because I'm smart, right? Now, when you walk around these casinos, you just see people losing not tens of thousands of RMB, hundreds of thousands of RMB just flying off the table. Now they can afford it, I'm sure. But I just like to walk around those casinos, and I went to the beach yesterday, which is pretty cool. In Macau, they've got these black beaches, and it's really cool. Black sand beaches. And I like the culture and the Portuguese influence in the food, and people are really cool down there. So I arrived on Friday because the show was on Saturday night, and Jimmy did 2 shows. He did one on the Saturday night and one on the Friday night. No, sorry, what am I talking about? One on the Saturday night, one on the Sunday night. And I was really excited because you've got it. I tell you what, I liken it to. It's like when your favorite act, a singer or a band, they release a great first album, and you're absolutely blown away, and then you're like, I want to buy the second one. Now, this is what I want to kind of preempt to you guys, which is this show is a little bit like a second album syndrome, right? And again, I'm just some quote unquote fan, as in I like his comedy. I've watched a few of his movies. I've watched his specials on Netflix. His comedy is great. I've seen the clips, and really funny guy. And I've done stand-up before a couple of times in Shanghai, and to do a 3-minute set and get people to laugh is one of the most difficult things on the planet. When you're with your mates and you're cracking jokes, yeah, that's really easy. But when you've got a room and you tell a joke and there's no feedback, it's like one of the hardest things in the world. So the show was at 8:00 in the Galaxy Arena, which is a 10,000 person arena. It's huge. I think it's 10,000 people. I got that right. Galaxy Arena capacity. 16,000. Sorry. 16,000. Okay. Wow. I got that completely wrong. So it's a 16,000. No, I didn't go to both shows. So that's why, probably because I couldn't afford it. But so the Galaxy Arena, and my seat, all I could afford was I was up near the pigeon. So I was on the second row, but on the very side, I was on the side. So if Jimmy was giving his stand up this way, I was on his left. And there wasn't many foreigners as the last time. There was a lot more Chinese, I'd say. And there was a lot of anticipation in the air. So the first thing that happened was there was this, so before he went on, there was like this kind of brainwashing song that was it was trying to get people to, I guess, gamble. So it was like I can't actually remember how it went now, but there was this, I think when he did the show last July, I think he had different music. Again, I could be completely wrong, but before a show, you need like a bit of hype. And that's what I remember last July. He did have was like this Indian guy who'd grown up in Hong Kong. Again, I've forgotten his name. Shows my ignorance and memory. But he was a really great comedian, kind of hyped up the crowd. But when the show started, I'll tell you what they weren't as strict on. They weren't strict this time on taking videos and photos, which is kind of good, kind of bad. You want to have memories, but at the same time, sometimes you just want people to just watch the show. Like, why do you have to get your phone out? Why do you have to get your phone? So they were pretty good with that stuff, I'd say. There's some people taking the odd photo, but no one's sat there with their phone like that the whole show, which was great. And so they started, this comedian came out, and he was quite good. I can't remember his name. There was a Jimmy. Again, you can see how prepared I am about this, my experience. He had a warm-up act, from what I remember. A Chinese guy who spoke in Cantonese. Now, again, I'm not going to say that he should have been. What was the guy's name? Jiang Zihao. Yeah, that's the. Now he was quite funny. Although it was mainly in Cantonese, I had to keep asking people like, "What did he say?" So, but then they had this, it was a Chinese New Year show. So what Jimmy was trying to do was almost like the Spring Gala. So you guys may have seen the Chinese Spring Gala recently where they had the robots and all the show. So he was almost trying to do that, but which is like a great idea, I think. It is a great idea. Is that jumping too much? It's a great idea, I think, to bring people together. So I'll preface this again by saying it was a great idea. What he was trying to do is like a Chinese New Year show and accommodating more for Chinese audiences. So again, I'm just some white guy, some Lao Wai telling you guys what I thought, but I think I do know good comedy when I say I'm British, right? So we do have a certain sense of comedy and British humor. And was that the guy's name? Vivek Mahbubani. Yeah, that was in. Yes, that guy. He was really funny last July when I saw him. Vivek Mahbubani. Yeah, he was. Yeah, really funny guy. So yeah, he was good. I think they should have brought him back. So I'll say that first. He should have been the warm-up act again. He was really funny. Like Cantonese and English and really good hype man. He's a good hype man. So this, like they had all these kids and this lie, like a typical Chinese line come out and kind of like, kind of Gong Xi Ni Fa Tai, that kind of thing, like welcome to, and it was really funny. And then it was interesting to watch. And then Jimmy was one of the guys and kind of came out. Now I'm going to start with what I think Jimmy did well kind of in the beginning. So how he opened his stand-up was relevant. So bear in mind, we've just had Chunwan, right? We've just had the Chinese Spring Gala and we had the back-flipping robots. He was making jokes about that and making it really funny. That's what I really liked. I like it when a comedian does stand-up that is relevant to that week or that day. And he did that in July. In July, he'd walked around the casinos and he'd come up with jokes. And that was the real high point, I think, actually, of his show on Saturday, was when he came out and did jokes about the Chinese Spring. I think the joke he said was, "Sorry, guys, I don't have any robots. We've just spent all the money on this," which I thought was quite funny. Like he's got a quick mind. He's got a comedian's mind. Really funny guy. Where I think it kind of, again, it was a Chinese New Year show, right? So the point of it is it's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to have different elements to it. Now, for me, I just want to see him stand up for an hour and deliver great comedy, great jokes, because that's what he's really good at. And he's good with improvisation. So he brought out a few. So the first guy he brought out, again, I'm sorry. I forgot. I know there was Jackson Wang. again, this shows my ignorance, but the guy he brought out first, the Chinese guy, really, really handsome guy with cool hair, a lot better hair than I was. Cool, like tattoos, and he did a joke about the tattoo, which I thought was really funny. And what I like about Jimmy O.Yang is he kind of punches up, right? He's self-deprecating, so kind of a bit like me. I like kind of put myself down. It's kind of a very British way of doing comedy, and that I know I'm terrible. That kind of, the audience is the cool people, and I'm the terrible one. That's what I really liked about him. And he was talking about being single, and he's relatable, right? He's a funny guy. But when he started bringing these guests out that are really famous in China, that they were actually quite funny. That's what I was surprised at. When he brought out people like Jackson Wang and this other guy, again, if anyone can help me, the first guy he brought out, I've completely forgotten his name. Because I was so... Tyson, that's the guy's name. Tyson. I'm not prepared with this, guys. I should have written loads of notes, but I'm just kind of stream of consciousness. Tyson Yoshi. Okay. Talented guy, can obviously sing. He was quite quick as well. He's kind of funny in places. Tyson Yoshi. They kind of made it a talk show. So they put these two stools there, and then they talked about their lives, and they had some photos of them when they were kids and all this kind of stuff. That was the funny part, but it was kind of all amalgamated together. So it's like, is this a talk show, or is this a talk show? Is this a Chinese New Year show? There wasn't really maybe it's my ignorance again. I should have done more research before the show and thought, right, what he's going to do is going to be a big extravaganza. I was just expecting a lot more stand-up. I like it when Jimmy does stand-up. I'm a student of comedy. Not that I can deliver comedy very well, but I grew up on Monty Python and Blackadder and Only Fools and Horses and all these great stand-ups, from Jimmy Carr to Ricky Gervais to Russell Howard to Frankie Boyle, all these great comedians. And it just turned into like this big monster, this big Chinese New Year. Like, it was kind of structured, but Tyson, that guy was good. Again, older Chinese singer out who was brilliant, singing Cantonese, all this kind of stuff. From what I saw, the people around me, they weren't really that entertained. Considering I don't speak Cantonese, there was kind of a lot of frowning like this, kind of, what's this? What's this? And so they had this singer come out after Tyson. Again, he's probably really famous. I feel really bad, but they had this older Chinese singer, and then they brought his dad out. Now, this is what I thought he should have lent into. Now, his dad is really funny, and he's done stand-up about his dad. His dad is a really funny. Now, if they did a father and son show, now there's comedy there, right? I think if Jimmy did more stuff with his dad, and when I've seen his dad in the videos, he's really funny. Richard O.Yang, I think his name is. Really funny guy, and a great actor as well. They're both great actors. But they did this thing where they brought the dad out, and then I can't remember the order, but I'll talk about the order first. Now, he made some jokes about Hongbao, about the red pockets, which I thought was quite funny. But this is where it went wrong. Okay, this is where I think it was wrong. What they did was, bear in mind, the people at the front of the crowd, right? The front audience, they've spent the most amount of money, right? Probably to be at the front. Fair enough. They're closer to their idol, this kind of stuff. But from what I heard around me, and I was thinking this as well, is they were. I wasn't expecting. Let me preface this with, I wasn't expecting a hongbao, right? I wasn't expecting a red envelope, but his father, and this other guy, they were kind of handing out hongbao, but they were only giving it to the front crowd with these red pockets. Now, these are the guys that they can afford that kind of money. And I know it's difficult to go all the way up into the rafters and throw red pockets, but in my little section where people were like, what? Like, they're giving like red pockets to rich people at the front. And it's like, what about like the fans that, we spent loads of money to get there? And I know I can't say those people, they haven't worked really hard to get to the front of that audience. I just think for a bit of cultural intelligence, right? I just thought that part where they were giving it looked wrong. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Like, giving hongbao, red pockets, to people that were rich, it kind of didn't look right. That's all I'm going to say. Again, I've probably got this completely wrong, right? I'm not going to say, again, everybody has an opinion about everything, but I just want to talk about my experience, what I witnessed, because Jimmy is, to organize all of that, and his team, it must have been an incredible job. The amount of planning that's gone into that. And then people were kind of pushing their way, and I don't like pushing at all, but when people are kind of pushing their way to get a red pocket, and like I saw people like getting pretty physical down there. So bear in mind, like Jimmy and his dad and this other guy were kind of giving. No, the other guy was singing. That's what I remember. So the other guy, the older Chinese singer, he was singing on stage. He was really talented. And then Jimmy and his dad, I think, were giving out red pockets and stuff. But it was just, I think, I'm not saying I should have been given a red pocket. Like, hey, Jimmy, give me a red pocket. But they could have done something where, randomly they put red pockets under people's seats or something, like make it a bit more fair, right? Because it looks kind of like the people at the front, they've spent loads of money to be at the front. But then I've also spent loads of money to be in my seat. But I don't know what I'm saying with this point. I'm just saying, like, you want everyone to feel inclusive, and it wasn't an inclusive experience. There was a lot of focus on the people down there. And I always think about that. I always think, if I ever got famous and became a singer or comedian or band or anything, like, which is never going to happen, I would try and I'd want to look after the guy and the girl that have like spent all their earnings that year to be like, they're right up in the rafters, right up where the pigeons are. And I think about those guys. Like, that's the people I want to think about. I want to try and make it inclusive for everyone, not just the people at the front. So that happened. Again, I don't want to sound like a complainy Brit but when you don't feel inclusive of something in a concert, or again, I've never said, anyone watching this probably thinking, why don't you set up your own show and do something? It's like, yeah, fair enough. I get it. And this is the first one he's doing. Maybe this was kind of a tester, or then they did something which they had. I think this could have worked, but it didn't. There was funny elements to it, which was they had this kind of eye contest, which I thought was almost like a beauty contest. They brought out like 3 different older Chinese ladies that could sing really well. And, one of them sang the great Beyond song. And he and his dad and this other guy were like the judges, which I thought was quite funny, right? It was kind of like, I think they could have made that bit funnier, but the ladies that were singing, incredible, really amazing older lady. I can't do this stuff. Okay, get up on stage and sing a Chinese song in front of 16,000 people. Now, I'm going to talk about this as well, this 16,000 people. So Jimmy said a number of times, this is a sold out show. Now, observationally, being in the room, I saw a lot of empty seats. Now, you could say, well, people bought those seats and didn't turn up, or there's emergencies, people are sick. It happens all the time. If you sell out a concert of 16,000 people, not all 16,000 people are going to turn up. But you could tell it wasn't sold out, right? Maybe it was on paper. Maybe I've got that completely wrong. He sold out 16,000 seats, and there was a few hundred people that didn't turn up for various reasons, or, you know, it happens in life, right? People get sick, or and but when something's sold out, it's almost like you can't move. That's when I think about something being sold out. I think like you can't physically move because it's so busy. But there was a lot of empty seats, and I'm not saying that to put Jimmy down. Again, I think I'm being quite diplomatic here in my experience. You know, if I sold out the amount of people, if I sold out the first row, I'd be happy. I'm not scared of him. I'm not scared of him. I don't want to be one of these guys that turns up and just rants about the experience I had. I don't think that's a very conducive or constructive way of going about it. I want to be completely honest, because the stuff I'm saying could be completely wrong. He could say, well, this was completely sold out and there's empty seats, but people did actually buy those seats. They just didn't turn up. It's still sold out. He still got the money for it. But I think when he played in that other arena, he played in an arena that was only a couple of thousand people, and it was more intimate. Again, I've forgotten the name of the other arena. It was the Broadway bit. It was more intimate. There was more, you know, you felt closer to the people. It was July. It was just, I'm not scared of him. He's never going to see this anyway, but it's just, I want to, when people go on videos and then rant about their experiences, I just think, why can't you do it in a more constructive way? Do it in a more diplomatic way. You don't know the backstory. I don't know the background and the planning that went into this show. To organize any event in life is difficult, whether it's a networking thing of 10 people. I mean, I can barely get my friends to get together, right? I've got mates in Shanghai that make excuses. They don't want to meet up. Probably because of me. But when he did the smaller venue, it was a lot more intimate, and it was just about the comedy and him. And oh, thank you for the gift. I appreciate that. It was a real experience. Like I came out of that show thinking like I could do stand-up. That kind of experience. But this show, I kind of came out thinking, what was that? Like, what the F was that? Kind of, what? I could see what he was trying to do. Right. So there's that point about it didn't look sold out, but there was a lot of people. You know, it was almost like a stadium thing. And I think when you do a if he just stood up for an hour and a half and done stand-up, we would have loved him. He would have absolutely crushed it. And if he'd made the jokes relevant to that day about Macau, gambling, all this kind of stuff, it would have been incredible. Yeah. So, no, I'm not digging my mates that don't show up to my stuff in Shanghai. But what I'm saying is, my point about all this is to organize anything in life, whether it's a small event of 2 or 3 people or a room of 16,000 people. I don't know the backstory. All I can say is I've spent nearly 10,000 RMB in the last few days to go down to this show, fly down there, the hotels, everything like that, and then be disappointed by a show because it didn't quite reach my expectations. That's the main point. I'll go on to the next part of the story, which is, so they did the auntie, the IE kind of competition thing, which was funny, but they could have. Again, this is maybe a British way of doing it, but like, who's the sexiest IE? And they could have made it funny. They could have gone about that a different way. And I wanted to see more of the father. His dad is hilarious. Jimmy O.Yang Wancheng, the Baba. His dad is a really funny guy. And I think if they'd had more of him in the show, I think if they'd just had him doing stand-up with his dad and maybe some photos of stuff from his past. Yeah, so they had this lady, they had this Ai, who's a Wang Hong, who's an influencer, who sings Western songs, but in a Chinese kind of accent. So she was singing like, ba, tu. She was kind of doing she was funny. And that was really good. Again, it's funny moments, but when you watch a comedy show, which I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was just an amalgamation. Here you go, Chinese New Year show. I'm taking my time because I really want to remember everything that happened, but I should have taken notes really, but it's been a bit weird for me to bring out a pen and start writing. Then they brought out. So now there was the big thing about Jackson Wang, and he made some really funny jokes. He did say, all the women in the front, Jackson Wang, and Jackson Wang is really talented. They were all talented. Everyone on this show was really talented. There was no one that was like, what the hell are they doing? But there was. So at one point, I think it was like one of the final things. He said, "Look, and now let me introduce Jackson Wang." Big star, and then he didn't come out. And he's like, okay, I better do some stand-up then. And I'm not sure if that was planned or not, but when he said, I'm going to do some stand-up then, I was like, yes, he's going to do some stand-up. Right, finally. I nearly heckled him at one point. I nearly... they did something quite funny. They just say, hey, is any foreigners in the crowd? And at one point he said that, and I was the only one that went, yeah. And I don't, if you've ever shouted when there's 16,000 people in a room and then the whole room looks at you. I did have that. So yeah, and I like Jimmy O.Yang as well. I think Jimmy O.Yang is a hilarious guy. He's got some funny jokes, but I want to tell you guys my experience about what happened. So Jackson Wang was supposed to come out and he didn't come out when he made the announcement. So then Jimmy's like, I'm going to do some stand-up. Now, this was an issue with the show. He ended up doing stand-up jokes I've heard before. I'd heard them last July. He did jokes about Macau and gambling. And I was like, oh, no. And if it was your first time watching the show, well, my nose, okay. Fair enough. But when you've seen a show and then they say the same jokes again, this is what he did. He ended up as a comedian. And again, I'm not here to be critical about people saying, well, why didn't you go and do it? It's like, yeah, I'm not a comedian. And it takes the amount of effort and work to craft a joke and make it relevant. The amount of time and effort it takes into crafting a show and structuring it, it's difficult. But when he came out and he kind of did this a little bit the set he'd done in July, that was the disappointing part, I'd say. It's like it was, and I'm not sure if it was kind of improvised. He had to do that because that Jackson Wang didn't come out. So that was a little bit, yeah, the word would be disappointing. Because when you see a comedian, you don't want to hear the same jokes they've said over and over again. You want to hear new material. You want stuff that's going to... Shouldn't go to see the same comedian twice in a year. That is bang on, Paul. Someone just made a comment. You shouldn't go and see the same comedian twice in a year. I agree. you shouldn't see the same show, but I thought this was a different show. So I thought the show he was doing this time would have new material. It's a Chinese New Year show. I think if he'd just done an hour on Chunwan on the Spring Festival, you could make that funny. There's so much he could talk about. But you're right. You should maybe. This is a good lesson for me. Maybe if I see a comedian, I should wait 2 or 3 years and then see how they've evolved. I think it's a really good point, and that's my fault, right? Maybe it was, let him have time. Yeah, so it's my fault. I should just stop this live stream right now. What we're talking about, but you're right. Yeah. He's a really, really funny guy, and he did say some new jokes here and there, but it did sound like he was rehashing old. So, and if none of this, WeChat saying, "What are you talking about?" Go back and rewatch this. Perfect sense, but you're right. I should probably have left it a year or two, but anyway. Then finally, Jackson Wang came out, and I don't know. He was actually really funny as well, and they kind of played off the he's sexy, Jimmy's not, all that kind of stuff, which I thought was clever. But, and it's a big but. He didn't sing any songs. So I know a couple of Jackson Wang songs, and they said something about, because of the copyright, which I think is a valid excuse. But I would have thought there's a few of his fans, or just sing your most famous song. It's like me. If I got up on stage and people like, say in Great Britain, or how does one sound more British? I'm just going to say it just to please the crowd, be a bit of a crowd pleaser. But he didn't sing a song, and then it was a bit, it was too expensive to sing a song. But bear in mind, we're in a casino. Yeah, they don't have any money. There you go. That's a joke. That's like a British sarcastic joke. Like, it's not like the Galaxy that haven't got any money. They did at one point, him, Tyson, that guy from earlier, Tyson. Sorry. What's his surname? Tyson Yoshi. They brought them all out at one point, and they sang just the two of us, but they changed it to just the three of us, like just the three of us. We can make it if we try. So they must have paid for the copyright for that song. But yeah, Tyson Yoshi. But it was a little bit like, it just didn't quite, for me, it just didn't quite work. And the audience around me, I know it didn't work because I could hear people saying stuff around me. There was a lot of people talking around me. And the Chinese around me were quite vocal. I was quite surprised. Like, people saying, like, what is this? So that happened. And then, was that it? I think they sang just the three of us from the Bill Withers song, Just the Two of Us, which I love that song. And then they had a big kind of extravaganza thing again. They brought out the lion again, and hey guys, thank you so much. Bow. Now, I understand that when acts do a concert at any venue, they have a set time. But with an audience, there's always an expectation of an encore, right? So they had the, hey guys, thanks so much for coming, bow, hey. And then I keep thinking I got my nose. Oh yeah, I do. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I've got to wipe my nose. Give me 2 seconds. Oh God, I've got to wipe my nose. Oh God. Excuse me. How embarrassing. Oh, I'm okay now. Yeah, I'm okay. Okay. Anyway, you see, I don't care. the audience was shouting encore, and I think this is really frustrating. I remember years ago seeing Guns N' Roses, and they were late onto the stage. So they were late by about half an hour. So they're a shorter set. So there was an expectation after the show that they should do an encore. So people shouted, encore, encore, and then they didn't. And I think that's what Jimmy could have done. However, I will say, I don't know what the regulations were with, maybe they had to just stop at a certain time. That's quite common when, you know, they have to cut off at a certain time. So it makes no sense if that keeps wiggling, doesn't it? I want that to be straight. Sorry, guys. My WeChat keeps wiggling, wiggling, and wiggling, and wiggling. If I move that, yeah, it wiggles a bit. I think they have to pay extra if they go. Sorry, guys, my nose. Oh, excuse me. There we go. I'm a bit. Maybe it's because of the travel. Yeah, I'm okay. So I'm really self-conscious of my nose now. I really feel like. So I think the thing is, the whole audience at the end was shouting encore, encore. And then when an act doesn't come out and just do like a couple of minutes or an encore, it's really. Hold on. What? What's going on here? Oh. Oh my TikTok. There we go, I'm back. Cool. So it's fine. It's fine. I thought I had my nose is. I think it's not. I don't have anything up my nose. I think it's the light. I think it looked like I had something up my nose, and it's actually the light. It's not. So people were shouting encore at the end, and then they all kind of just like went, and then just walked off. And I don't know if there was a set time they had to leave the stage, which is usually the reason why they don't do encores. But he definitely, I think, because the expectation was quite high with the show, a lot of people were disappointed. I heard like a lot of like a collective groan around me. I was one of them. If you come out and just done a couple of minutes of stand up or 5 minutes of stand up, which I know is difficult to get 5 minutes of stand up crafted together is really difficult. What I will say is I came away kind of like a little bit underwhelmed, and a lot of people that I was walking away with were like, "Oh, what was that?" And what topped it off even worse was there was one funnel. You know what it's like to feel empty inside. I don't know if I felt empty inside, but I was disappointed because I'd spent a lot of money to go down there, and I was expecting like a class show, a show that was, or maybe I wasn't the audience. Like I'm some white British guy that's lived in China for 10 years who speaks a bit of Mandarin, virtually no Cantonese apart from that's, you know, I speak barely any Cantonese. So, Winnie, you went to Jimmy's Macau show yesterday. What was your thoughts on it? It'd be great to hear what I've ranted at you guys for an hour. I want to hear what other people thought. I'm really interested to hear what you thought, Winnie, because maybe the show was different when you went. Maybe it was better yesterday because I went on Saturday night. And the other thing that so it'd be great to hear your opinions. I'd love to, if anyone wants to call in as well. If anyone wants to call me, 如果你要打电话，然后你可以分享你的经历，你的 There was no something new. Winnie, if you want to call in, you're welcome to. Or if anyone that went last night, but I went on Saturday night, and then the worst, the horrible thing that happened. The horrible thing that happened was when we left the stadium. Everyone, they funneled us to go one way, so you ended up going kind of like long way out the stadium, and my hotel was like down this side road, and I couldn't physically go there. And I understand like crowd control, but it wasn't like there was going to be a stampede or something like that. So I don't think the crowd was very well organized leaving. And then people were annoyed and people were pushing to get out. And I didn't hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, that was a great show." I heard a lot of complaining from people as we were leaving, like, "What was that?" And my Mandarin is pretty good, so I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, sure, sure, I'm disappointed." So, but yeah, and then that happened, leaving. So, yeah, I think it was a case of unfortunate circumstances. Trying to do a good thing, like putting together a show, is difficult. Trying to combine elements. I think the other thing that didn't work was having so many languages flying around. Even for the Chinese people, I think Chinese people are very talented with languages: English, Mandarin, Cantonese, all those dialects, any languages. I think they're some of the best language learners on the planet. But when you've got Mandarin, Cantonese, and English all flying, even my head, even I could barely understand it. My head was like, "Woof." And so I think sometimes it was better last July when he just spoke English and then he threw in bits of Cantonese and Mandarin. That was better. But when he just spoke in one language, I had mainlanders next to me that they didn't understand Cantonese, so they were kind of struggling with the Cantonese. Even though I know we're in Macau and there was probably a predominant, there's a lot of people from Hong Kong and Macau and Guangdong there. They can understand Cantonese, but there was also a lot of mainlanders that could, that don't speak Cantonese. So it's a tough one, right? Organizing a show. I think I'm being quite diplomatic in the way I'm going about this. I thought about this after the show. I was like, do I do like a scathing review, even though I'm not a reviewer, or do I go about it more diplomatically? And because I don't know all the context, the backstory, I didn't organize the show. I don't know what he has to deal with. But at the same time, when you're an audience member, you spent a lot of money to go to a show like that. It was a lot of money, I think. It's difficult to get tickets for 300 RMB anything nowadays. And Cantonese is a beautiful language, but it's kind of, you're trying to accommodate to, it's so tough. So yeah, it'd be great to hear if anyone, so Winnie, you went last night, and what's going on? I've got girls in my messaging, like all depressed, saying that they can't. Oh God. And I didn't want this to be a depressing live stream, but when you've spent a lot of, I've been to other shows before where I was really disappointed. I watched some of his live show. It did look quite boring. His live show is really good. When he does stand up, it's not boring. It was just, and last night wasn't boring. It was like, it was confusing. I think that's the word. It was like confusing. Like, what is this? Is this a spring gala? Is this a Chunwan, or is this a Chinese show? Is it stand up? Is it a talk show? Is it a game show? Like, it was kind of, maybe I should have done more research. It's my fault. And I probably went to see him too quickly. I should have given it a couple of years, because when you've had a great experience like I did last July, and then I went along to his show last Saturday night, it was a little bit, yeah. And then what made it worse was I was staying in a hotel which cost me, I think it was like 1,200 a night in Macau, which is I still think it's quite pricey. 1,200 RMB, so let's say over 100 quid a night. And then I didn't sleep. If you had your card key in your mobile and your pocket, your mobile phone, it rubbed away the magnetic. So then when you put it in the door, when you tried to open your door, it wouldn't work half the time. So last night, like, I've just got off to sleep after having not, a little bit not meeting expectations kind of show. And then I got some Oh, Bunanka! You know, so I can't get in a door at 2 a.m. right outside my door, screaming head off. So yeah, it was just unfortunate, I think. But what I will say is, yesterday I did have a lovely walk around Macau, around the casinos, and then I went to the beach. Macau's got a beautiful beach, and I went to this amazing restaurant called the Mariana, something like Mariana. It's on the beach near the black sand beach. So I don't want this to be depressive, depressive live stream. I just wanted to share my thoughts and lesson learned. Probably give it a couple of years before I see Jimmy again. I would see him again. He's a funny guy, and I think when he's quick. He's got a quick mind. He's got a comedian's mind. When he delivers jokes, he's got good timing. He's got that American way of that man. He says man all the time. Man, man, man. It's something I need to work on. I always say right or okay when I give speeches. Sometimes I need to cut that out. But I would love to see Jimmy come back and just do stand-up. And maybe include his dad a bit. And do some shows in mainland China. I would love to see him in Shanghai. I think he would kill it in Shanghai. If he did a talk show, a comedy show here in Shanghai, I think he'd be really funny. And he shared my friend Ian Badenhorst. Like he's a great comedian. If he had him and what's her name? Spicy comedy. That lady who's this Nora, that's it, Nora Jiang. Like have those two guys kind of warm up, and he does a show in Shanghai. I think they would be really funny. So that's my 2 cents of what happened. I just got back from Macau. I love Macau. I love the people there. I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy O.Yang. I just think the show didn't quite meet my expectations. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm not dissuading you from seeing Jimmy. You British? I'm getting people saying some of the comments I get. So, guys, any final thoughts? I thought I'd just have a bit of it's not a rant. It's just my thoughts on Jimmy. And the word would be disappointing because I did spend a lot of money to go down there. And my feedback is he should have done a Chinese show, but just built on it. Just built on the comedy he did in July and just make the material bigger, better. Because that's what people want to see. They just want to see him standing up, making jokes. Dancing monkey. Like me, when I do my videos, everyone wants to see me go, in Great Britain. So, any thoughts, guys? I thought Jimmy, wow, seems to have my WeChat has blown up tonight. This has given me another 200 fans. Wow. Huge. Any final thoughts? Anyone else that went to the show, to Jimmy's show, Chinese New Year show last night or the night before? Feel free to share what you thought, because the guy's talented. I wish I had his career, right? I wish it, as a guy that does content myself, I'm envious. I'd love to have his career. Yeah, flying all over the world, doing comedy. I'm surprised he's single as well. He mentioned that he's single. I'm really surprised at that. Say some British jokes. I don't know any jokes. I should think of some, shouldn't I? Maybe I should go back and Happy New Year. Happy Chinese New Year. 新年快乐，恭喜你发财。 恭喜发财. I heard that a lot the last few days. I ate a lot the last few days, so I've got a bit of a doozy. I'm going to have to wake up tomorrow back on the 5 a.m. gym. Feel free to drop any comments, guys. And thank you so much for the support. Consistently, we've had 100 people in this live stream tonight, which I thought was amazing. I love you all. And my teeth are so straight. No, they're not. My teeth are yellow and gangly and very British. I always thought when I get rich, that's the first thing I'm going to sort out. I'm going to sort out my hairline and my teeth. So, guys, I think I'm going to cut it there because me talking about Jimmy O.Yang for an hour is probably enough. I really appreciate all of your support. Please do go back and watch this because it will make more context. I will be seeing Jimmy again, I'm sure, in the future. I want to see some more comedians. And there are some comedy nights here in Shanghai, which I need to get out to. There's one on a Tuesday night. A good friend of mine just set one up. And so get in touch if you want to find out about comedy in Shanghai. And then you've got Spicy Comedy run by Nora, which is pretty good. That's the other thing I think Jimmy could have done, a bit more crowd work. I like a bit of crowd work. Now, comedy is nowadays, you've kind of got to open up to the audience. So yeah, I'm not a comedian at all. I'm not funny. I find myself funny. I've done a little bit of stand-up before. I did some clips. I did post them on social media. I did a few minutes. I kind of made fun of my name and being British, and I don't know how well the audience took it. I didn't bomb. I just had a few moments of. I find it funny when I say a joke and then people don't laugh, especially in China. So I'm doing it now. It's not nervousness. I just who's Jimmy? I keep getting this question. Who's Jimmy? Jimmy O.Yang. O.Yang Wangchen. Funny guy. And if Jimmy ever does get the opportunity to watch this, I'd love to meet him one day. I've been so critical of him tonight. I don't think I've been that critical. That was my experience, and I think it was obviously successful. He's a funny guy, but do go back and watch this because it will make a lot more sense what I've been talking about. And I do need to watch more comedy because we all need to laugh more. I think there's a need in this world to have people that are just silly and funny and give us some joy. And Jimmy's one of them. Jimmy O.Yang is one of them. So love you, Jimmy O.Yang. I was just a bit disappointed with your show. And that's the end. Okay, guys, I'm going to cut it there. Thank you so much for your amazing support. Go back and watch this. 你们可以再看一遍我的直播 because it will make total sense what I've been talking about. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. It's the end of Chinese New Year. 新年快乐. Tomorrow back to work. 明天上班. Back to work. So got to deal with that. And if you're not following me, you can follow me. 你可以关注我. 点赞, 转发, 评论, the usual, like, share, comment. I did post some content yesterday, some funny stuff, so check it out. And work hard, play hard. I wish you all good fortune in the year of the horse. And go and check out Jimmy O.Yang. Sorry, it's just like I've just had this like critique of his show, and then but yeah, thank you guys. Oh, the final thing is I always give a plug to my WeChat groups. I've got some 微信群, some 自己的微信群. You look very fit with an 8-pack abs. No, I have an E-pack. I have an E-quire right now. I need to get back on the gym. I've eaten too many pineapple buns in Macau. I was just saying, guys, 我有自己的微信分次微信群，如果你们要感兴趣加入我的微信群，你可以发给我私信我，那也可以私信我，然后我会发给你们二维码。 So I have my own WeChat groups for fans to follow me, and I've got 10 of them on WeChat. And you can make friends and just support what I'm doing. Yeah, guys, I'm going to cut it there. Thank you so much for your lovely, lovely support. And yeah, go and check out Jimmy's stuff online. It's funny. He's a funny comedian. I just hope he comes back to China with a bang. I hope he comes back with just a great stand-up show. I'd love to see him do that. All the best, guys. Take care. Have a nice evening. 再见. Bye bye. 注意. Bye bye.